So then, before the race even began, we had a moment. The 215 Porsche having a spin in the hands of Mariusz Górecki. When we did get going, there was some grass kicked up into the air. There was an early collision as Rafael Duran found the side of Chung in the 198 Ferrari, AF Corsa on AF Corsa. And indeed, this also AF Corsa on AF Corsa as Darren Howe moved into an early lead in the Cup 5 class for the older Ferraris. Lots of dramas all through the field. That was Chung trying to recover up the field after that collision. He was working his way back through the pack. And he did a good job, to be fair. The car ultimately finishing 4th in class. Ulrich Larsen was challenging for the Cup 4 lead and ended up digging a sandcastle. That was unfortunately cause for a safety car. As the safety car period released, Jonas Karklees continued on in the lead of the race, which he had held from the beginning. And he soon set about once again building a little cushion over Giuliano Holtzen. Alfredo Hernandez having some scraps further back in his GT3 AMG Mercedes, and this was a move for the Cup 5 lead. There was a car off there. I query whether that might have been under yellow flags therefore, but Giuseppe Casillo did get by, and then Darren Howe found himself under yet more pressure and scrutiny from Jakob Bistrup as the Cup 5 class proved fabulous entertainment. Sean Chung was clearly having a very interesting race. Eric Chung, my apologies, having an absolutely epic race back through the field. Meanwhile, that was another overtake for class position, and unfortunately a spin for Alberto Duran. He was tagged into it. Kenneth Heyer with a curiously smoky approach to turn 6. That would allow Gary Schreiner through. Mercedes would start to limp as the race went on. Some issues for Autosport Racing. The all-Serbian Matic and Bijatovic car not quite showing out in the way they would have liked in this one. Lots of variety through the grid as always, so lots of inter-class battles just like these. Cup 2, Cup 4, Cup 1, all in one shot there. Alessio Ruffini looked like he was struggling a little bit with the Lambo. That car unfortunately only finishing 29th with a technical issue, I understand. John Dillon handed the Cup 1 Ferrari over to Matt Griffin. Griffin would therefore inherit, once the pit window was over, a Cup 1 lead that he would try and hold against the cars pursuing him. Meanwhile, it was still at this stage Jonas Karklees at the wheel of the number 8, I believe, but Luca Engstler would soon take over. In fact, no, Luca Engstler was already at the wheel by that point. My apologies. But Engstler doing a good job at the helm of the number 8 to stave off the 700. The Mathis Lismont-driven Com2U Aston Martin. Soon, Lismont would start to fall back from the Luca Engstler car. Engstler would begin reeling in the race leader, Sandro Holtzen. The Cup 1 battles were exciting and they were numerous. This was Rui Aguas getting himself through some of the traffic and getting himself onto the rear of Matt Griffin, but that was as close as he would ever get to challenging Griffin for a position. Meanwhile, Oscar Rindzovic was having a difficult race. He half-spun halfway into the gravel, and thankfully he managed to get the car back out, but that wouldn't be the last of his woes in the number 80 machine. The Foot Racing Porsches were going side by side. It was the Atlas Ward-backed car, the 215 of Mariusz Górecki and Karol Kret that came out on top of that exchange. Meanwhile, Moritz Viskirchen was falling through the overall order somewhat in the Mercedes, which seemed to be ailing just a little bit towards the end of the race. Oscar Rindzovic, meanwhile, was losing out there to James Owen. James Owen, who'd end up playing a rather pivotal role in the last minutes of the race. This was our lead battle, getting ever closer. Luca Engstler, with the traffic providing an assist, caught up to Sandro Holtzen. Holtzen, though, was making the BMW even wider than it already was, as Moritz Viskirchen continued to get swallowed up by Cup 1 Ferraris. But that was going on away from our point of view in the live pictures, because the overall lead battle was proving to be too compelling to turn away from. Holtzum made a bit of an error here at turn 1, and that was the opportunity Engstler needed to pounce into action. Set himself up to try to get the inside at turn 2. Holtzum drifted wide at the apex, side by side through turn 3. Holtzum stood his ground going into the 4th corner of the lap, but it was Engstler ultimately that would get to the inside at turn 5. He would initiate a little bit of a hip check into turn 5, just to make sure that Holtzum would not get the run into the following corner, and it would be Luca Engstler into the race lead from there. In the end of the race, after James Owen in the other Engstler car, the Ferrari 296, slightly held up Holtzum through the traffic, Luca Engstler ultimately proved with a clear 8-second run to the flag, a nice big cushion for him to contend with at the front of the order after 33 laps of racing. Engstler Motorsports, Luca Engstler winning by 8 seconds. Matisse Lismont in 3rd position overall in the number 700 car. That is, of course, also the GT3 class winner. Danny Sufi in 4th position for Conrad Motorsport, 4th overall. AF Corsa's Matt Griffin winning in Cup 1. He was just a few tenths clear ultimately of Rui Aguas. Griffin and Dillon winning in Cup 1. Anders Bidstrup soloing to 3rd in that class in 7th overall. Moritz Viskirchen limped home to 8th. 9th place Daniele Diamato. Paolo Scudieri rounding out the overall top 10 ahead of Cup 2 winner Matthias Lizowski, bringing a trophy home for both he and Previslav Bienkowski for the PTT Racing squad. James Owen taking 12th overall for Engstler Motorsport. Marius Goreski in 13th position for Furch Racing by Atlas Ward. The sole GT2 car, Manel Lal of the NM Racing squad, sharing with Alberto Di Martin for 14th. Nicola Caldani in 15th position in the 99. Sean Doyle up to 16th overall. A really good last stint from Doyle, allowing he and Darren Howell to win in the Cup 5 classification. Alfredo Hernandez taking 17th position in his GT3 Mercedes. Zois Skrimpias taking 18th overall for he and his wife Germana Tognella. Jakob Twarog taking 19th position and Shintaro Akatsu rounding out the overall top 20. Stefano Guy taking 21st position in the second of the 2 cars that he raced on this afternoon. Of course, having done the first half of the race in a Ferrari 296 challenge car. Mons Thalen withdrew to the pits late in the race in the Villico Motorsport car, which is a shame since both Thalen and Bergman were looking very fast this weekend. All the same, they are classified 22nd overall ahead of Jakob Bidstrup, who took well to the Ferrari 488 challenge car. Of course, he was supposed to race a Ferrari 296 this weekend, but it wasn't to be, ultimately. Greystone GT's Ryan James took 24th overall in the number 22, just ahead of Steen Almsgaard for DC Motorsport in his Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo. Sean Hudspeth in the rather wounded 127 Ferrari came home in 26th. Oscar Rinzovic came home 27th overall with his toe link firmly broken, unfortunately, on the rear of that car. Gonzalo Araujo limped home as well in the Araujo Competicio car. Milos Pavlovic did also get to the flag in 29th, but their car had some issues at Autosport Racing as well. Andrea Gagliardini rounding out the top 30 on the grid. Just a couple of other cars making it out there on the circuit, neither, I think, reaching the flag at least trouble-free. Alexander Biatovic did get to the end, but had some issues with the Autosport Racing car. And Ulrich Larsen, unfortunately, triggering our only safety car of the race with that spin going into turn 8 and then into turn 9. So Larsen not able to take the flag despite fighting early on for Cup 4 honours. However, Luca Engstler has proven to come out on top in the 3rd and final race of the weekend in the GT Winter Series.